welcome to another community question of the week. I'm going to read this week's question, but I am also going to read your responses from last week's question. First, I wanted to do a little bit of news. I wanted to say that Jumble Junkies, the podcast, is up and going. We're coming out with a second episode, and it's really interesting. It's actually one of my favorite podcasts on our channel, so check that out in the future. Also, Jumble Junkie himself is a finalist in Screw Attack's My Vids Don't Suck contest, and he's using his puppet video, so check that out if you get the chance, and vote for him. Also, Magus announced on his channel that he's having a second kid, so congratulations. Okay, so last week's question was, what is the worst game you've ever played? And wow, we got a lot of responses, a lot of varied responses. I picked a few to read, so here we go. We've got XX Comeback Kid XX says, worst game I've played is Karateka for the Atari 7800. The controls are abysmal. There's no clear indication on how to do moves besides button mashing, and you may last 3 seconds before you get a game over. You can't get past the first bad guy on the screen. That's how bad it is. Wow, it's like you turn it on and it's over. XTatSplatX says, Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, sweet 16 and licensed to drive for the PS2. Enough said. Yeah, I'm going to say enough said and move on. Splatter Trigger says, Virtual On for the PS2. This game was so bad, I wish it was a piece of toilet paper so it could be of some actual use to me. And best of all, I could flush the freaking thing down the toilet. Wow. Okay, next response is Swift the Fox 15 says, oh, he goes on for a while. The worst game I ever played was Aragon DS. At the time, he was tricked by gimmicks, and this game's gimmick was writing symbols on the touch screen. The last fight, he believes, is a looping fight where enemies come wave after wave and don't stop. He thinks. He tried everything, but at some point, he thought maybe it's a timed battle. So he used action replay, defeating a few enemies, set it down. 3 hours later, he was still in the same fight. Best thing about his answer is that he had to respond to himself to continue his rant about this game. It says, sorry, I had to continue down here. I'm not going to fight 1,000 enemies 2 at a time. I refuse to sell it because I don't want some person to have the same frustration I had. And then in all caps, don't buy it. Don't worry, I definitely will not buy it. This is a conversation that popped up in the comments that I thought was pretty good. Diglio says, Shaq Fu, the game was horrible. I never really understood why a company would want to make a game about Shaquille O'Neal. The combat in the game was terrible, and there was nothing interesting about the game. No grab factor. Do not play this game! Exclamation point. And then there was a response to him by Team Rival Woot that says, sorry my good friend, but Shaq Fu is awesome. What other game lets you do fire kicks with Kazam? Then again, this is from somebody who owns and loves Home Improvement on the SNES. It's a pretty good answer. I like it when there are conversations in our responses. So anyway, that was for last week. This week's question, the one you should be answering now, is, do you do annual playthroughs of games? Do you have one or more games that you play all the way through once a year for nostalgic purposes, or maybe the game is just really that good. It deserves to be played every single year. Alex told me that he plays Castlevania Symphony of the Night every year. As for me, I don't really do annual playthroughs at all, really, because there's just too many games out there, and I used to do annual playthroughs when I was little, but actually it was like more than annual because we only had like 6 or 7 games, so you're kind of forced to play them over again. But now that I have access to a whole bunch of different games, I don't really have time. I'm trying to go back to a few like Monkey Island and a couple other old ones that I've played before, but in general, I just play new games. So let me know which games you do an annual playthrough of and why, because maybe I'll pick them up and maybe I'll start doing my annual playthroughs. Alright, thanks for listening, and I will see you next week.